Hey guys, it's Paradise, and we've been playing a ton of Marvel Rivals, even the beta before the game came out, and since we're having so much fun with it, and there is so much to learn, and the game doesn't even tell you everything, we wanted to wrap together all of the tips and beginners stuff that we wish we knew sooner before starting. So if you're a beginner, we have you covered here. Drop a like below if we help you out, and if you do know anyone that would benefit from learning the basics in Marvel Rivals, then send this their way. We'll be going over what the game is, how each of the different game modes work, various mechanics in the game, as well as handy tips that a new player can use to instantly keep up with those veteran players. With all of this and more, this Ultimate Beginner's Guide should hopefully be helpful to you. Before we get started though, make sure to redeem the free skins that are available in the game, because you can unlock the Armor Model 42 Iron Man skin by simply redeeming the code on the screen via the main menu. But if you are playing on console on PlayStation 5, you can unlock both the Scarlet Spider-Man skin and Venom Penny Parker bundle via the PlayStation Store. Although do note, Penny's requires an active PlayStation Plus subscription, but there's just a few handy tips if you want to get these special skins. We'll start off by going over what exactly Marvel Rivals is. It is of course a free-to-play game, and it's a 6 vs 6 hero shooter featuring all the characters we know and love from the Marvel franchise. You as the player get to choose which of these heroes you want to go into battle with against an enemy team also playing a variety of these heroes in a bunch of different game modes. Each of the heroes in the game have their own powerful, unique abilities, as well as a devastating ultimate that can have a massive impact on the battle, although these ultimates require a longer time to charge up. Heroes are split into one of three categories, which depends on their skill set, and each of these archetypes have an important role to play in each and every game. The composition of your team is fundamental to winning matches, and while there may be some unorthodox strategies, most games will consist of an even 2-2-2 split between the three class archetypes. Specific heroes can work together to perform unique team-up abilities that give you even more options as well. The game can be enjoyed both solo or with a group of up to 5 other friends for 6 in total. Whether you're just having fun doing casual skirmishes via quick matches, or competing against the best in the challenging competitive modes, there is a ton of ways to play, as well as express yourself through various skins and cosmetics available in-game. You can get these either standalone or via the in-game Battle Pass. But basically, you need to work together as a cohesive unit with your team to complete the objective in your given game mode, and swing battles in your favor by using your powerful ultimate abilities and synergies together. So that is the game in a nutshell, but let's take a moment to take a closer look at the different game modes so you can understand them. Marvel Rivals is split into 4 major modes for you and your friends to play. There is Quick Match, which is an instant way to get into the action. It's a very easy mode to access, and lets you play most of what the game has to offer in a controlled and casual environment. The objective for each game will change depending on which of the 8 currently available maps you get, but these can be broken down into 3 core game types, which we'll go into. But it is good to note that quick matches tend to only play out 1 round when it comes to modes like attackers and defenders, making the matches shorter overall. You also have Conquest, which is another more casual mode. This puts you in an arena-style deathmatch, and the objective is to kill the enemy team and collect their Chronovium. This drops anytime you get a kill, and the first team to hit 50 will win. This mode is great for getting into quick matches with your friends, as well as testing out new heroes against actual players. Now once you reach level 10, you will gain access to the competitive match mode. This can be done by playing a few of the other game modes first. This is a ranked mode where your performance will be judged each match. From here, each game you win or lose will determine whether you climb or fall on the rank ladder. So it's a good idea to be fully prepared with a good understanding of how the game works and the characters you want to play before going into this. You can also play this solo or with your friends, and the games do tend to be longer, and the teams will switch sides between attacking and defending. However, whichever team does better on the attacking side will determine the winner. If you get to rank gold or above, and you manage to hold on to this rank until the end of the season, you will actually receive additional rewards in the game in the form of exclusive skins, as well as profile borders for those with the highest ranks. And then we have the tournament mode. These are live esports competitions that you and your friends can sign up for, and they will pitch you against the best of the best worldwide. You have to sign up as a team by creating your own faction of 12 players, and each has its own rule set. The top teams per tournament can even win real cash prizes, so this is the ultimate game mode for those who want to be very serious. Now, with the different modes of playing out of the way, let's go over the 3 core objective types that you'll be doing in a match. First is Convoy, an asynchronous game mode where players are split into attack and defense. Attackers are tasked with escorting a convoy through the map in order to reach set checkpoints along the way. Each time you reach a checkpoint, it will add extra time so the attackers can keep pushing. The ultimate goal for the attackers is to push the convoy all the way to the end. Standing next to the convoy will allow you to gradually push it along the path, and the more teammates you have pushing it, the faster it will go. But the defenders, on the other hand, their job is to stop this at all costs. So you want to delay the attackers from pushing until the time runs out. So in order to achieve this, the defenders get to roam around the map as soon as the match starts and prepare their defense while waiting for the attackers to spawn in. After a 30-second timer, the match will begin and both teams will start battling over this point. Defenders can contest the point by standing in close proximity to it, which will stop the attackers from moving it. And if you manage to wipe the attackers out, you can also capture the convoy yourselves. This will then cause it to move backwards towards the latest checkpoint. In return, attackers get closer spawn points each time they take a checkpoint, while also pushing the defenders' spawn further into the map. Then we have Domination. This is a King of the Hill style game mode where the objective is to capture the middle of the map and hold it. Shortly after the game begins, a capture point will unlock, and by standing within this area for a few seconds, you can capture it for your team. The capture process, however, can be stalled if a member of the enemy team contests the point before you fully capture it. But once you have claimed it, the objective will start filling a progress bar for that team. If that bar reaches 100%, then that team will win victory for the round. And there's 3 rounds in total in this game mode, so the team that gets 2 first will win overall. The third objective type, however, is Convergence, which is another mode split into attackers and defenders. But this time, before pushing a convoy, attackers must capture a point being defended by the other team. This is slightly different to Domination though, as the attackers' progress is split into 3 segments. If the attackers push the progress above these checkpoints, it gets locked in, meaning the defenders cannot push the progress down past that point. This makes it more of a battle of attrition, and it's also much easier to fill out the capture bar as progress is being made. Once the point is captured though, this will spawn a convoy for the attackers to push, and much like the convoy game mode, from here the rules are very similar, where the attackers must push the convoy to the end, whereas the defenders want to hold until time runs out. Within all of these game modes, there is a concept that you must understand called overtime. If the timer runs out but an objective is still in the middle of being contested, then the game will go into overtime. This is shown at the top of the screen with a bar that rapidly depletes whenever the objective gets uncontested. This gives the attackers a chance to make a final push for victory, but if it does run out, then the defending team will win. Before we move on, let's talk about the other modes available in Marvel Rivals. There are custom modes that allow you to set up private lobbies to play any of the modes available in the game, and you can even fill empty slots with bots if you want to. There's Practice versus AI that pits a human team versus 3 different difficulty levels of AI, and that's a great starting point for anyone who's not feeling confident enough to go against human players. The Practice range has everything you need to test out different heroes, their abilities, and even team-ups. And finally, you have the different tutorial modes that allow you to go through the absolute basics of the game when it comes to controlling your character, as well as demonstrating some of the core game types. We definitely recommend trying these out if you're very unfamiliar with a hero shooter. But now let's move on to the character archetypes, and the characters in-game fall under one of 3 archetypes depending on what role they best suit. In total there are 3, the Vanguard, Duelist, and Strategist. The Vanguards are like your front line. They're capable of taking a hit and protecting your team. They have the most health of the heroes available, and their job is to push the team forwards safely. This is usually done through abilities like shields or barriers, or through disrupting the enemy team by forcing them to focus on the Vanguard. Then you have Duelists, who are very much your main damage dealers, capable of putting out damage quickly and efficiently. They achieve this in many different ways, with some being ranged and others melee, and some are best on the front line alongside the Vanguards, while others may have abilities that are more tailored towards flanking the enemy team, catching out key targets on the enemy team, or even playing in the back of your team at range. Either way, their job is going to be to take out other heroes. Then you have the Strategists. These are the utility-based heroes, usually fulfilling some kind of support role. This is usually done in the form of healing up injured teammates, but many strategists also have powerful abilities that can disrupt the enemy team with crowd control effects, or help push your team even further with various different buffs. Each role is equally important, and it is imperative to have a team that has a good mix of all three. So while we do urge you to pick and play your favorite hero, you want to make sure you have a selection of heroes that you can play and enjoy playing to cover these different roles within your team. We have some beginners picks that might help you out. For Vanguards, we would suggest Magneto. He is a quintessential tank, having access to everything you need to protect your team. He has barriers and shields so you can push forward, he has some great damage for warding off any assassins that try to engage your backline, and his ultimate is a high impact ability that both protects your team from incoming shots, as well as dealing a ton of damage once you release it. For Duelists, we would suggest Scarlet Witch. She is perfect if you are new to the genre. Her primary attack doesn't require you to aim, and she has ways to survive in various sticky situations through her abilities. Her ultimate is also incredibly potent, even capable of wiping out the entire enemy team if used correctly. On top of this, if you are playing with a friend, you might want to try and combine these two characters together. This is because Magneto and Scarlet Witch have an awesome team-up effect together, making them both great starting characters that complement each other if you are playing with a buddy. Meanwhile, for strategist beginners, we would recommend Rocket Raccoon. He can deal a ton of damage, has some potent and easy to understand abilities that are super helpful to your team, and even has an instant revival mechanic for a member of your team. His heal is a fire and forget single ability, and his ultimate directly improves the effectiveness of your team, so he's a very good beginner support. If you're ever struggling to remember what all of your hero abilities do in the middle of a match, you can always press up on the D-pad to preview and read exactly what they are, just in case you're getting lost. But let's take a minute to go over the team-up effects we mentioned before. This is an awesome mechanic in the game that lets specific character combinations aid each other, giving them new abilities, buffs, or mechanics. These are usually set up so that one hero will passively provide these buffs to another. In return, they'll get a seasonal buff that, as of Season 0, is a flat bonus to health for Vanguards, damage for Duelists, and healing for Strategists. But now we're going to dive into some mechanics that you need to know in order to succeed. As said before, each hero has their own powerful unique abilities that you can use in order to win. Universally across heroes, the most simple will be your normal attacks, which will deal damage to your enemies either at range or in melee. In some cases, with strategists, you can also heal teammates with this. Your other abilities will all work differently depending on your hero, and some will have multiple charges or lengthy cooldowns. These might deal damage, inconvenience your enemies, buff allies, or provide mobility. Once again, you can always press up on the D-pad or F1 on keyboard to show an overview of your hero's abilities. Your ultimate, however, is a notable, unique, and high-impact tool and is usually your most powerful asset, but it generally can't be used right away at the beginning of a match. As time passes, you will slowly gain energy that will fill up your ultimate, and once it reaches 100%, you'll be able to use it. You can charge this faster by dealing damage to enemy heroes. When you begin a match, you'll usually start at your team's spawn point, and there will be boundaries which are marked by these green doors. This is a safe area that enemies cannot enter, and you can freely change the hero you're currently playing while inside, as well as quickly heal up any damage that you've taken. Anytime you're defeated in combat, you're going to respawn here automatically after a set timer. Each match also features several health pickups, which will heal you quite significantly. These are especially important for flanking characters, so learning the locations of these will be really good, as a lot of the time you will be out of the range of your team's healer. By pressing B or right on the D-pad, you can activate Chronovision. This lets you see parts of the environment that can be destroyed, which will open up new routes and in some cases even change the layout of the map. This is a great tool for flanking the enemy team or finding a safer route past choke points where the enemy is holding. Playing as a team is going to be the thing that will win you matches in Marvel Rivals. The best and fastest way to do this is by utilizing the ping system. This lets you convey important information to your team instantly. By pressing the middle mouse button or down on the D-pad, you can do a contextual ping that will mark a location you're aiming at in the environment or point out an enemy. By holding down this button, you can communicate more advanced concepts such as the status of your ultimate, if you should attack or retreat, or even if you're in need of healing. Now let's take a look at some of the best settings to change. Marvel Rivals, quite frankly, is daunting with the amount of settings that there are, but if you're willing to take a look through, there are some really good quality of life features buried in here. These are some of the more general settings we would recommend to give you the best experience possible. To start, under your audio settings, make sure to turn on 3D enhancement if you're using headphones. This gives you better directional audio, which makes it easier to identify where sounds and enemies are coming from. On top of that, by clicking onto the combat mix menu, you can adjust the volume of important sounds like incoming healing, damage, and even the announcer, but there's another handy option that is turned off by default. Turning on announcement when a teammate is KO'd and announcements every time an enemy is KO'd is a useful way to know which way a teamfight is going just from the sound alone. Moving on to your keyboard settings though, there's two that stand out. The first is the HUD widget size. We recommend setting this to small to free a bit more space up on your screen's peripheral vision. Setting allied health bars to on is a great way to know where your team is standing and if a fight is worth it or not, as this is only usually visible if you're playing a strategist. Speaking of strategists, it's a good idea to turn on the healing reticule feedback option for each one. This makes it clearer when your healing is being effective. To do this, click on the All Heroes button, and then filter the list by strategists, and go through each one, locating the hero section and setting the healing reticle feedback to on. It's also good to know that many heroes have their own unique settings to them, so consider checking out the options for your main characters. One notable option is something that both Spider-Man and Venom have, which allows them to get more out of their swinging mechanics. By default, swinging will automatically anchor your web to the nearest point available, and while this will help you swing pretty much anywhere, you lose that precise control of it, making it more difficult to navigate the map. Turning off automatic swing for Spider-Man and easy swing for Venom instead allows you to shoot the web wherever you aim. This lets you pick your anchor points, and allows you to zip towards walls and even use it on the ground. This is great to have much more control over these characters, and we highly recommend toggling these options. So now you know what the game is about, how it plays, and various mechanics to get you going. But let's go over some simple tips and tricks to give you that edge. First thing is first, remember this is a team game. Playing around your team's strengths and covering their weaknesses is the best way to be effective. This can come in many forms like comboing abilities together. For example, Scarlet Witch's ultimate is capable of one-shotting anyone in range, but she's incredibly vulnerable while charging this and will often get focused down while doing it. But by using abilities like Magneto's Metal Bulwark, you can keep her safe, which is a good way to have the best chance to land things like this successfully. Being smart about your team composition is another thing to keep in mind. While it might be very tempting to lock in your favorite hero, consider swapping to another role if 4 people, for example, have already locked in a Duelist. You will have a much better chance at winning if at least one of each role is on the team. You also want to understand how to use line of sight to your advantage. You don't want to be in the sights of an enemy Duelist if you're playing a strategist. This is because you can still effectively heal your team from behind a corner or wall or barrier. It's equally important to consider line of sight when asking for heals. If you're pushed deep into the enemy lines, the chances are your team's healer won't be able to heal you, so your best choice will be to try and get out alive and go over to them. You should also never be afraid of switching heroes in the middle of a match if it's just not working out. Some characters will do well against one team and terrible against another, so consider the enemy's heroes before playing vulnerable characters like Iron Man or Storm, who are amazing against teams that lack hit scan attacks like the Punisher, but really suffer if they do have them and you get focused. So that's everything you need to know as a beginner in order to succeed in Marvel Rivals. Make sure to drop a like below if we did help you out, and send it to any friends that you think need some help. Once you've mastered these basics though, be sure to check back on the channel for more advanced guides that will be coming soon. And make sure to subscribe for more Marvel Rivals. Here at AREKKZ Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 26.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.